Hey guys, it's Carol and thank you for stopping by for my regular stitching update. I am here this week with 6 whips and a little bit of plans. So gonna go ahead, jump right in. Whip number 1 is Ink Circle's Tapestry, which I have misplaced the pattern cover. I have the pattern, can't find the cover. Why? Because that's how I roll. Remember I did this with Royal Holiday a couple weeks ago? I did find Royal Holiday, it's just the tapestry decided to take off. Oh well, here's where it was last time. This is where we are today. I filled in a little bit more through here, so I don't believe this bird, if it had been started, I guess it's a bird. It's kind of what the motif looks like. I hadn't finished it, went ahead and started this. There is no margin on this fabric because I bought it. This is a fat quarter. It is Weeks Dye Works light khaki, and unfortunately, because just the size of this pattern, it's a 30 count. I ended up having to go with like 2-inch margins all the way around, so I have like no room up here. It wants to slide because my board's not big enough. Whatever. Anyway, to continue, I was trying to fill in through here as I'm kind of resolved to going clockwise around the pattern, and I began doing the, we'll call the stem of this floral motif, but down here. So I had said this is one that doesn't always inspire a huge amount of joy when it's time to sit and work on it. I love how it looks. That's the part that just drives me crazy. It's not the most enjoyable stitching, but I love when I've done it. So I'm finding that the way to do this is I basically resolved to do 300 stitches, roughly, and I did. And I said, okay, cool, I can put it down and I'll pick it up in a month and a half, whenever I decide to pick it up again. But that I don't have to devote a huge amount of time to this, but it'll eventually get done just in very, very small increments. And that makes me feel good, so. The other thing is that this one, if you see, is it really is a pretty dense, like there is not a lot, like I spent so much time worrying about exactly what fabric I was gonna use, like, because the model was stitched on parchment. I thought the parchment was too dark. I like wandered between like 3 choices. I spent probably half an hour picking the perfect fabric. And you really don't see much through all of this. Oops. Just something that I can say, going back in time, I would tell myself, like, it doesn't matter that much. Just roll with it. But yeah, so that's where I am with Tapestry. Now, I don't know if I got a little burnt out doing samplers in September because I was feeling motivated. I'm not really a sampler September. I'm not really a hashtag type stitcher. Like, I really appreciate the people who can take a theme and run with it. I am not that person, but I did spend a little more time in September working on samplers just because I realized I was already doing it anyway, but I think I had spent almost enough time that I only over the last 2 weeks picked this one up. So this is the Fruit of Plenty from Modern Folk Embroidery, and I had been working on the February card here, and I didn't make as much progress as I might have wanted. Here's where I was last time. And here we are today. I worked on adding some of this darker color through here, and then just honestly I'm trying to come down between the 2 motifs and fill this in. I realized I've left this floss hanging. That is something that drives me a little insane. Like, I don't know why I just kind of left it there. I probably had the intent to come back and finish it up. I didn't. I put this one down like I think a week ago, and I hadn't even so much just looked at it until today when I was like, oh, I need to iron this for filming. It's really, really ratty, but yeah, I'm enjoying this. I still am. I actually, it's like I mentioned, the feeling like filling it in, but when you have a structure, like in this case where I created with the darker floss, like it's actually almost becomes easy because you're just filling in. It is almost the epitome of mindless stitching. I love mindless stitching. It's like my jam. So this worked out pretty well for me for when I picked it up this week. My focus piece, because this is the closest project I have to a finish, is the Prairie Schoolers A Prairie Garden. Here's where it was last time. And this is where we're at today. I have finished this motif, which was the rose. It was not quite as speedy as my daffodils, so unfortunately I have not finished this yet, but I have been working on filling out the border and at least got the leaves started. So story time. I was at the DMV and my daughter for her learner's permit. First of all, I cannot even believe my daughter is old enough to get behind the wheel of a car. Also, the car that she's been learning in is older than she is because we bought it while I was pregnant with her because we needed a vehicle that could fit a child. We had a Jeep Wrangler prior to that, and no, wasn't going to put a baby in a baby seat in there. No. So anyway, still have that car, and I actually went driving with her for the first time this week. It was less scary than I thought it would be. But anyway, so we were at the DMV. She needed to do the test to get the learner's permit, and I didn't have an appointment. And the reason I didn't have an appointment is because the appointments on the website book out like a month in advance. So we had been told by someone else, just go ahead and do the walk-in, which means you really need to get there like first thing in the morning. Well, it's the DMV. You know you're going to be waiting for a while, so I took this with me. I had it in the Q-snaps. I didn't have the pattern card with me because I was working on all this green. Like I just had a little bit of floss in the required green color and was just doing it. So first of all, there's this wonderful lady who walked up to me and asked if this was my own design, and I had to be like, no, absolutely not. But she thought it was really cool that there was sitting there cross stitching because we were just, well, my daughter's taking the test and we're waiting a little longer and waiting longer still. I mean, at least I had something to keep me occupied. And so I was like, oh, so this woman told me about how she cross stitches too, and I thought that was fantastic, but she had to go, I guess, I don't know if her number got called, I can't remember, but she like hurried away. I didn't get a chance to really sit and talk, and I actually felt kind of bad about that. She came back by later, I guess after she had concluded her business, and was like, hey, you said that there was a pattern, what is it? So obviously I had to tell her, and she was also asking where I got it. Here's the part that I actually feel a little bad about and should let it go, but I'm not good at letting things go. Is I told her that I got it at the local LNS, and then when I got back in, because I didn't have the card with me, when I got back in the car, I saw from the sticker that it actually come from the LNS at my last residence. So I was like, well, I hope that they were able to get it for her. I mean, my LNS has Prairie School, or like if they didn't have it in stock, they could certainly order it for her. I just thought it was really cool how she was like, I love this, and she actually asked if it was a new pattern, and it's so funny because the original date on the card is copyright 1992. Not new in any way, shape, or form, but it's just, I will say it is a really lovely pattern of its style, and a little burnt out. I mean, I will say, trying to do this entire motif in a week along with other stitching is actually kind of hard. It's more X's than it looks when you're looking at it. But again, now that I'm at the almost done, we are at 93% done, I love it. I love it so much. And I do have a Prairie Garden too floating around here. I'm not gonna start that one for a while, but I do have the matching fabric to this, so that when I start it, I'm going to literally make it match this one, like, because it has a different border, but I'm definitely going to do like this border. But I love it. I find it so fun, like stitching in public. So okay, I had it at the DMV because I was working on trying to get this done. I also had it while I was sitting at one of my kids' events, and one of the other moms that I know, she's like, are you doing that? Like, from memory, it was the same thing. I was working on border, so I didn't have like the card with me. And it was like, no, but it turned out her mom had done counter cross stitch, and it was a nice little conversation point. It's so funny, actually, if you like stitch in public, how many people will tell you, oh, they actually recognize what you're doing, and it'll be, oh, I used to do this, my mom did it, oh, I've actually met guys who cross stitch, like that one was awesome. So, and this is just, I have a relatively small social circle, just how my life is, I like it, but it is kind of neat, like, because I haven't actually made the effort to go sit in my LNSs and stitch, so I haven't really made any stitchy friends locally, but it is kind of cool to have like all these people who know what you're doing and really like tell you, hey, it's cool, glad to see it. So I guess the moral of the story is stitch in public. Like, it's a conversation starter in a really good way. I was able to spend some time on Mirabilia Designs' The Stargazer. Here's where it was last time. And this is where she is today. I decided that I wanted to finish out all the DMC that was on the front half of the design. So that is roughly about here. So anyway, all the DMC is done. Now, needless to say, that does not mean that that like top half of the chart is done, because it's like billions of beads. Okay, not literally billions, but it's a lot of beads. I don't love beading because I'm really bad at it. Now, I'm also aware that the only way to get better at something is to just honestly do it. But I don't want to. That's actually why I've been working on the DMC on here and not going back up and beading, because even like I've been stitching this in a hoop, I could do all the beading up here and it would not affect my ability to put the part that I'm actually working on in a hoop. But I'm bad. I know I just said that, but it's like I have like a really great rhythm when I'm working with embroidery floss, but I do not have a good rhythm with beads, so they just take a really long time. Everybody probably has that same like idea, but that's one of the reasons that I'm like, I love how beads look in the end, but I don't love doing them. It's okay. Because it's fall, actually so fall-like that there might be frost this week. Like that's early for here, like a lot early, but anyway, decided to pull this one back out. Is just a fun full coverage. Here's where it was last time. And here's where it is today. I don't know how many of these colors come through. Like that would make me really sad. We're seeing like the gold is here and here. So like I'm feeling at least the autumn colors. And oh, and there's more green in what I've put in here. I really enjoy working on this. I don't know if it's the fact that it's an 18 count vice the 25 count that my height is on. So it's not so much that it's coming along any faster. I stitched it about the same speed. Obviously it's bigger, which it might actually be like, oh, that's more pixelated. Whatever. This was just like almost like the right combination of mindless and the way I'm doing it by basically just trying to fill out the 10 by 10 grid in this roughly diagonal pattern. It's actually working out pretty well for me. I've not been terribly successful in parking in the past, so this is actually going better than I would have thought. I do not generally enjoy parking. Like every time I've tried it in the past, I get mad at it, stop and go back. I prefer cross country. That is really where it's at for me, but because I didn't feel like fully gritting this, I'm basically almost forcing myself into having to park this, but it is a manageable number of threads. I only came up with one situation down here where I had like 3 separate strands of the same color, all kind of converging at the same area of the chart and going, ooh, I need to fix that, whatever. So I think I'm at roughly 900 stitches on this project complete. I'm looking forward to it looking more like something as I go on, but it is fun. I think my sister has caught full coverage fever, if you will, because she may have been trying to entice me into buying another Haid, and I had to, and it's one I've been looking at. I didn't buy it, but next time it goes on sale I probably will, because it's really pretty. But anyway, I will say that there's something about doing it on this size that I'm really enjoying. So this is, I'm glad I got to it. And then my last piece since the last time I spoke with you guys is Mirabilia Designs Autumn Queen. Here's where she was last time. And this is where she's at today. There is not a huge amount of difference. You'll see I did put in the Krainik through the ribbon across her lap, started putting the purple up. It's not a lot. I thought I was gonna end up focusing on this piece. Really, Prairie Garden took most of my stitching time, and then I gave away some of my stitching time because I was reading The Count of Monte Cristo and couldn't put it down, and it's like a 600-page book, so it's a really good book, highly recommend, but it meant that I didn't get as much stitching time on this week as I might have liked. And you know what? It's okay, because I'm starting to get a little more okay with working with the Krainik. it's still a little weird feeling in the hand, but I don't feel like I'm struggling as much as far as the stitching with it. It's almost as easy to work with as the DMC for me mentally at this point, so hence why I didn't leave this on. I was like, okay, well, we'll just fill this in. I love the colors on this project. I am really looking forward to, right above here is where it switches to the teals of her bodice. So looking forward to that. There's really not a lot of purple left. Like, there's just a smattering right here, but we're ready to really go into a color change as far as my predominant flosses I'm going to be using, so I'm really excited about that. And you will see this one again next week because it's going back into my plans. So in my last video, I had gone over, I can't remember if it was 6 or 7 that were like my pool of potential whips for that week to work on. And it said 5 was like the magic number. And then of course I threw extra ones in there. I think I had ended up with 7. 7 was too many. So I didn't touch my Hade at all, which I'm sad because I wanted to work on it, but not enough that I prioritized the actual time spent on it. And that's fine, because I did find though that having a pick within these small amounts let me not get overwhelmed by saying, oh, I'm neglecting any particular projects, or that I feel like I can only work on a certain project because I'm trying to get it done. Like, it was actually, it allowed me to have the feeling of I'm just kind of coming with what I want, but with a little more confines than just my entire pile of whips. So I found it incredibly helpful. And what that means is that, in fact, I've already picked out this upcoming week's projects. So from the Seattle Stitcher, Megan, I got the bright idea that I really needed project bags and it did not need to be fancy. So I see everybody's project bags on Flosstube and they're beautiful, and I really respect the time and energy that goes into making them. I could sew them myself, and I don't want to, so I don't. But because I know how to sew them myself, I then turn around and don't want to buy them either, because then again, the perfectionist mindset, I can just go ahead and make it and be the perfect fabric instead of having to guess or basically whatever. So you know what? The cheapy, like $1 per unit gross plastic mesh bag, it'll do. This is just about literally containing my projects while during the week. So what I've done is I've pulled 5, I've left, and then my bonus piece, which is the, if I get time for it, great. But the idea is that out of them, I have to touch 5. And that, like I said, it worked really well for me last week. It felt almost freeing. Like, yes, I can work on all these for as much, or basically I set like a minimum, and some of them, my minimum is really low. It's like, okay, you put in 150 stitches, good enough. Like, I don't have, and if once I reach that point, I put it aside. So it's basically waiting for me to film my next video. And then when I get down to, okay, well, I only have like 1 left or the bonus, then it's really easy, and then by that time the week is like run out. So this is we're gonna try it as a new way of organizing my projects. But in the meantime, it means that all of, like, I actually did a really nice job of like, hey, all of my pattern sheets are in here, any working copies, the floss needed, so I have to pull them out right now. So first, I mean, I hope to have this one fit. I hope that this is a finished object next week. I really, really hope so. And if it's not, because I'm getting that burnt out feeling, then okay, at least I accept that. But I really would like to have this done, just because it would be nice to have something else finished. I haven't had it finished since the spring, and I've started a bunch of things this year, so I'm trying to keep my whips from getting out of control, just because I like to see progress. It's not about the amount of projects, it's about what I get done on them. In that same vein, this is the Mirabilia that I'd like to finish this year, so Autumn Queen will be coming back out as well. Now, I was like, do I want to do another Mirabilia, or do I want to do something else? But when I was putting things away, I touched the fabric for Winter Queen and looked at it and said, yes. So this was a case of pure, like, I knew that I wanted to work on it. My other Fancy Ladies, I wasn't called to, but this one, very much so, so I'm excited to get back to it. Coffee Quaker, Heartstring Samplery. This one I am like roughly a quarter of the way through, and it's it's one that, I mean, it's not a big project. This, the back of this doesn't have the stitch count, but it's not a huge project, so this one is one that I would like to, you know, kind of prioritize after I get a prairie garden done. So, just because I think I can get it done in a reasonable amount of time. We'll see. Then it'll be time for me to rotate back to Family Patchwork Sampler. And then my bonus piece is going to be Hade Winter Kiss, just because I didn't get to it last time. Thank you guys for having stopped by. If you like my content, please hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!